Our camp had been selected by the Taliban to have a complex attack on it and hopefully overrun the camp and destroy it. So I presented my sniper rifle to the enemy, pulled the trigger once, and then my rifle jammed. So I was like, I've done all this training, I've got this $10,000 rifle, and my story ends here. That was the end. I'm looking at these muzzles. I remember vividly the muzzle blast, and each time one went off, I was wondering why I couldn't feel the bullets hitting me.
You described it as lucky, but on this podcast we say blessed, and I fully believe you have divine protection all over you on this day.
But 320 some odd bullets that were fired at me, all of them inside of 10 to 12 meters. I didn't get hit once.
Have you had any mothers, grandparents who've been praying over you?
Welcome back to Heaven Meets Earth. Normally I like to make a little joke at the beginning here, but this was a very serious episode, and we were very honored to have Medal of Honor recipient Master Sergeant Earl Plumley join us today, and it'll affect you, right, Abby?
It was just an amazing story, I think, that really highlights the power of prayer and divine protection.
Absolutely. If you watch this episode, you will never turn down the prayer circle again. Earl Plumley, thank you so much for your service. Thank you for being here. I'm so honored. Truly, we're honored to have a lot of guests, but it's a unique honor to be sitting with a Medal of Honor recipient. And just so everyone knows who's watching this, Earl is so reluctant to bring out the hardware, and I forced him to because it's such an important symbol, and it demonstrates that there are people today, and like there always have been, who are out there risking their lives to preserve our freedom. So on behalf of this show, on behalf of CBN, Museum of the Bible, and Ab and myself, just thank you for your service, and thank you for being with us today.
Yeah, it was my pleasure and my honor, so thank you.
And for wearing the hardware, because we are a video podcast, so it's good.
It makes more sense
to see the visuals.
I got no hardware. Take us back to that day, that fateful day.
So it was Fob Ghazni. It was a Polish fob in 2013. Our camp had been selected by the Taliban to have a complex attack on it, so not a harassment. And their take was we were intending to close the camp, and they found out, and so they wanted to launch a spectacular attack and hopefully overrun the camp and destroy it, which is what the enemy's goals and intent always are. But if they failed, they knew we were going to close the camp and leave, so the messaging to the Afghan people would be that they had driven the Americans from that region. So they initiated that attack by getting 3 truck bombs, VBIDs, that were in the 3,000 to 5,000 pound range, and then 1 truck bomb that was in the 20,000 pound range. And honestly, it was a great plan. It was really well executed. And just things went wrong for him at key times and key places. The 20,000 pound bomb, which would have absolutely just erased the camp, the fuel pump went out on it, and it broke down a mile from our camp. Afghani police officer saw one of the trucks and just had a premonition that it was a bomb, and shot it with a rocket launcher and destroyed it, ultimately sacrificing himself and his checkpoint. But he just knew it was a bomb. It didn't investigate the truck and engaged it with an RPG. And so that left the Taliban with two big bombs, which brings me into my part of the story. Is a cement truck with about 5,000 pounds of explosives rammed the wall near me, and 15 Afghan assaulters sprinted through that blast site. And didn't know that. I knew that whatever the enemy's doing, you try to do the opposite, it seems. So if they're going one way, I would try and stop them. So me and 4 other Green Berets drove down to get involved in that fight. Didn't know that they had moved so quickly. So we pulled up at an intersection leading out on this airfield, and I was intending to get out of the vehicle. I was a sniper. I had a sniper rifle. So my participation in that battle, I thought, would be best served if I got some form of vantage overlooking the airfield in the city, because I could see that they had a house that they were occupying, and they were shooting machine guns and rockets through the breach into the camp. And I thought that was the enemy, and intended to engage them with that rifle. Was unaware that they had moved so quickly and sprinted through that breach toward us. So as we pulled up into that intersection, we pulled right in the middle of them kind of doing a school circle. This was their dispersion point. So they'd already covered the airfield, and we're going to go to their individual targets. And here we come and parked right in the middle of them. So we looked at them, they looked at us. We found out later the reason the fight was so intense was that we were on the only road that gave them access to the interior of the camp. So they had to get past us. But as we pulled up, they instantly engaged us. And like I said, everyone was almost instantly hit. I had my door open because I was intending to kind of get out of the vehicle and climb this wall. So I presented my sniper rifle to the enemy, pulled the trigger once, and then my rifle jammed, which is same. I had the same understanding of the situation. I was super bummed. I was like, I've done all this training. I've got this $10,000 rifle, and my story ends here. So at that point, I was staring at about 7 fighters actively firing into the door of my truck, and I had a broken rifle. And to me, I thought that was the end. I'm looking at these muzzles. I remember vividly the muzzle blast. And each time one went off, I was just like, I was wondering why I couldn't feel the bullets hitting me, because we're so close. I couldn't understand how they could miss. Mm-hmm. And so I thought the only participation I could have in that battle at this point was to buy the guys in the truck with me as many moments as I could, so that they could come up with a better plan. Because the only plan I could think of was to pull my pistol and charge that nearest group of fighters. So I did. I pulled my pistol. Almost reflectively, I don't remember intending to pull my pistol. It was just, it appeared. And I started, firing and advancing on the enemy. And I was hitting them, and they were not hitting me for one reason or the other. And eventually I got right in the middle of them. Started at probably at 12 to 15 meters, and then ended up basically at this range. And to the point where they were having to shoot at each other to shoot at me. And I was like, well, I didn't think I was going to make it this far. And I was like, now I have another problem. I've lived so long, I'm running out of pistol ammunition. And so I had a knife and a hand grenade. And so I pulled out my hand grenade, threw it to the nearest fighter, which, luckily if you're wearing a suicide vest and somebody throws you a hand grenade, you try to get away from it. So everybody quit shooting at me. They ran for cover. Except for one fighter, and it was the actual fighter I hit the grenade with. He didn't try to avoid it. He just laid right there on it, picked me up under his sights, and fired his rifle at me until the grenade detonated. And the whole time that was happening, I just started repairing my rifle, and it was jammed. So I was clearing the jam and getting a fresh magazine in, and I just remember time kind of slowed down. And as I was clearing the jammed brass and inserting a fresh magazine, I remember the rounds were coming through and going around me, and I was right by this empty water tank, and I could hear the tick of the rounds as they came through the plastic, and then a little tiny piece of white plastic would kind of come out, and it was just kind of snowing around me as I was kind of, in my mind, moving in slow motion, getting my rifle back up about the time the grenade detonated. And, I peek around, and obviously he's been destroyed with this hand grenade. And I'm trying to figure out where his friends went. And I start hearing this snap thump of rifle rounds landing to my rear. And as I turn around, I see an enemy fighter. He's 100 meters away. I know it's 100 meters because this is on base, and he's laying on the edge of the airfield. It's where we do sprints in the mornings. So I've literally, where I'm fighting, I've touched that wall and sprinted to the airfield and back. Wow. So my rifle is precisely zeroed at 100 meters. So I held center on him, pulled the trigger, and detonated his suicide vest, which, scared me. I was, you're just not, you don't expect people to explode when you shoot them. Mm-hmm. And so it actually took me off guard, and I was trying to figure out what happened to him, because I was like, my gun doesn't work like this. Yeah. And it's when, that's when I started figuring out that I had just, hit a fighter wearing a suicide vest and detonated it. And, and then I was like, well, now what? I couldn't go back around the corner to where my friends were, and I could hear them, Chief's hit, Matt's hit, I'm hit. And I was like, well, I have to at least stay here, because if I go back around the corner, these guys will be right back on top of us. And obviously they have suicide vests. So only, they don't even have to be effective. They just have to get close to us to detonate. Mm-hmm. So I opted to stay around this corner, and I'm kind of in the open, and I didn't know where they were going. I knew I couldn't stop them by myself, but I could keep them busy. Mm-hmm. So I opted to move down to where they had run off to. I'm going to kind of stay engaged and wait for reinforcements to get with me. And at least I'll keep it where they can't just willy-nilly run around the camp. I get down this little lane about halfway to it, and they all hang muzzles from around the corners and trucks and things, and they start shooting at me. And I'm on the move, doing the best I can. Sniper rifles are good at some things, but shooting while walking at close targets is not what they're built for. So I didn't have the optimal system, but I'm doing my best, and I'm keeping them from being able to concentrate and aim at me. And I'm better at this than they are, and so I'm getting some hits. And then my rifle runs out of ammunition again. I just fixed it, and then it only holds 20 rounds, so I'm empty now. And I know my pistols. In my mind, it had 2 or 3 rounds in it, which I ended up emptying it later, which was true. But no more hand grenades, and I could see all these guys to my front, and I knew that the only way I was going to survive that was I would have to get my rifle back up. So dumped the magazine and reached for a fresh one. As soon as I dumped the magazine, the nearest fighter to me, screamed Al Akbar, threw his rifle into his sling, so it kind of flipped behind him, and then he just started sprinting toward me. Unfortunately for him, I've practiced reloading more than he's practiced sprinting. So he got about half the distance to me before I got my rifle back up, engaged him, and detonated his vest. But that was probably around the 10 to 12 meter mark, and it blew me down. I don't think I was unconscious. I think I was just kind of, TKO'd for a boxing term. But I was definitely bewildered about why there were so many rocks in my bed. I remember being extremely comfortable, but I was trying to figure out why everything was on fire and why people were shooting everywhere.
Does that also shatter your eardrum? I gotta imagine.
So I got so lucky. As we were driving up, the camps, the whole camp. As we were driving over to that, the whole camp's just getting hit with artillery fire and RPGs, and I was like, sooner or later somebody's going to get on the radio and try and organize this. So I need to monitor the radio. So I turned my radio on, and I had a system called Silinx, and it's earbuds that are hearing protection and your radio mic. So I didn't know that I was going to be just getting blown up, but just in case somebody popped up on the radio, I was the only one in the truck that had a radio, so I'll be the radio guy. And I put those earplugs in to not to protect my hearing, but to be able to speak on the radio. But yes, if I had not done that, I would have been just crushed. And even with the earplugs in, it's
15 meters. A suicide vest goes. I imagine that blows your eardrums, right?
I didn't. The ear protection worked for me. I have hearing loss. It wasn't like I was unscathed, but I still had a pretty good understanding of the audiology, I guess, of the battlefield. I still remember hearing things burning and hearing bullets come by. And it really kind of saved me, because if the hand grenade, I threw that hand grenade, it detonated probably 5 meters from me. If I hadn't had hearing protection, and I would not have heard those bullets hitting the wall behind me.
That's over by the camera over there, right?
Yeah.
That's wow.
Which is, you're not supposed to throw hand grenades that close to yourself either. But
and you described it as lucky, but on this podcast we say blessed, and I fully believe you have divine protection all over you on this day.
So from where I got out of the truck to where I got blown down there, we went back, and there was 323, I don't remember exactly, but 320 some odd bullets that were fired at me, all of them inside of 10 to 12 meters, and I didn't get hit once.
Wow.
And it's hard to come out of that without some kind of understanding that there was some kind of intervention, because statistically, even if they were shooting with their eyes closed, I should have got hit once.
Yeah.
So I, stick my pistol in my dump pouch, and then I run back around the corner, reloading as I go. And at this point, I crash into Drew Busick, who was he was the Green Beret that was sitting in the back seat of this truck. And I was kind of getting agitated because as you know, the story goes on, I came with 5 people. Where are they at?
Yeah.
So Drew was in the back seat. Every round that missed me hit Drew or the driver.
Oh.
So every time a round came through the truck, it would hit a piece of the truck seat or it'd hit a frame, and then Drew would get hit with a piece of it. Mm. So when I pulled my pistol and stepped out of the truck, Drew reached over and he was going to jump out of the truck and follow me. One of the rounds came through, hit the center A-pillar on the passenger side, and came down my door and went through his door frame, and literally without bending the lever on this Toyota TRD, it's a little red wire, flipped down the child safety lock so that Drew couldn't get out of the truck. And so I stepped out, advanced on the enemy, and Drew was sitting there shaking that door, getting hit. Not directly, but these little, flesh wounds or spall as the rounds are hitting the truck. And he had to climb out over the truck seats, climb out the other side, and then had to run around and link up with me, which is where we get to. And I was like, Drew, I know right where they're at. Let's go get them. And he's like, okay, let's go. So we go back around the corner. He pushes to the far side, and we're like actually patrolling now. We're not just, wildly throwing haymakers. And as we get to that last fighter, he's laying right on Drew's side of this little lane, and he's kind of smoldering, and his vest didn't detonate when I shot him, but it's burning. And so I yelled at Drew. I was like, stay away from them. They all have suicide vests. And I remember Drew kind of like, jerked back, and he's like, and he's trying to figure out how to navigate this lane because this guy's laying right in the middle of it. And the vest goes low order. So it doesn't detonate, but it starts burning. But high explosives burns with a particular vengeance. And it's like a giant blowtorch. And it's this 30 or 40 foot blowtorch. And Drew's afraid of fire, apparently, because he ran over to my side of the street. And we both end up behind this generator panel, which is where I was reloading. It's one of the reasons, right as that first vest detonated, I had stepped into this generator panel, and it caught all of the frag from that first vest. And so now Drew and I are behind it, using it as cover, and engaging the remaining fighters that are behind this burning insurgent. And they all had these hand grenade belts. It had like 20 hand grenades on it, and I guess they were stitched with the rings in because they were just throwing these hand grenades so fast. And they were so close to us. The whole gunfight took place in a room about the size of the studio. And so we're throwing these grenades at us, and one insurgent would shoot at us with his rifle, and then his buddy would throw a hand grenade at us. But they were so amped up that he would throw the grenade so hard it was hitting the wall behind us, and it would bounce back in the middle of the road, which is still, it's still a hand grenade that's at that 5 to 7 meter distance. And we were just getting pummeled, which is actually funny because I had this supreme sense of calm that I couldn't be injured.
Wow.
And Drew did not. So every time a grenade went off, Drew got hit with grenade fragment, and I didn't. So after the battle, Drew he's asking me, where are you hit? And I was like, I'm not.
His concern was warranted given the hits he was taking and your
Drew,
probable aversion to.
Yeah. So I remember he was like, what do you mean you're not hit? You're an idiot. I'll check you. And he's like walking me over, and he was literally getting mad. He's like, you're bleeding here. I was like, I think that's your blood. And I think I did get hit, but I had a very superficial wound in my arm. And Drew got just battered and wounds. He had them all over him. Oh. But he was actually very agitated on the battlefield that I was not wounded. He's like, how are you not hit? I was right next to you. And I was like, I don't know. Sorry. I'll do better next time.
I'm just curious. Have you had any mothers, grandparents who've been praying over you?
Continuously. But I have a really neat story. About 2 days before the battle in Ghazni, my mom actually called, and she's like, hey, I'm leading the ladies' prayer circle at church. I'm going to pray for you, but if you have anyone that would like to have their names put in the circle, tell me, and I'll have the ladies pray for them. And Nate Abkemeyer and Drew were actually sitting around a fire with me when that call came in. And I remember Nate Abercrombie was like, "Yeah, everybody's too tough, to have the ladies' prayer circle pray for them, especially in public." But he's like, "I'm good, don't worry about it." And then after the battle, because everyone got shot except for me, and I got shot at the most. And so Nate is like, "Hey, call your mama." And I was like, "Yeah, what would you like me to tell her?" And he's like, "You got to tell her she's got to pray for everybody or nobody." Because we can't keep going on like this.
What a testament to the power of prayer, though. I mean, that's amazing.
You don't turn down the ladies.
The prayers of a righteous woman availeth much.
When my mama has a prayer
Come
circle,
on.
you put your name in.
Yes.
Is she still doing prayer?
Oh, obviously, yeah.
Sling my name in there.
Yeah, seriously, throw the show in there. Are there a lot more Christians are there a lot more Christian soldiers, and is God more present than we might think in battle?
I mean, you would be. I have never been on the eve of anything dangerous where there was not a prayer circle. And in the rear, in the United, back here, the chaplain only gets approached for problems, marriage problems or money problems. On the battlefield, he is in constant demand. Everyone becomes very religious, and I think it's easy to be distracted from God when everything's comfortable. But when you're actually standing on the precipice, everyone gets much more concerned about it. And I've seen no difference in combat than in, say, a nursing home. People toward the end, when they actually see that it is going to happen and they confront their mortality, want to embrace that spirituality and that relationship with Christ. And I always feel sad for them that it takes something like that to start that process. When it's so much more meaningful and profound if you can arrive at that conclusion before you get there.
Amen. I think it's a beautiful note to end on. Anything else,
I
Adam?
agree. That was lovely.
Earl Plumley, thank you so much, sir. God bless you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.